Hello, I'm Neil Quigley and welcome to the latest episode of my blogcast. Hope you're well and good. Now, I do love a freebie. I always have and probably always will. My girlfriend won some tickets through Sky VIP to go to an open air cinema screening of the Baz Luhrmann Elvis film, which is a film I've already seen twice before because I am a massive Elvis Presley fan. I've been to Graceland, I've been around Memphis, I even went to Nashville and went to the RCA studio where he recorded lots of his albums, particularly in the 60s there, which was fantastic. So lots of the places where they filmed, I've been. The film itself, I thought was great. I mean, it's Baz Luhrmann, so it looks fantastic. It moves quick, it keeps you interested. The story is more or less there. I think there's been some artistic interpretation with how he's played out certain scenarios in it, but I know it did have the backing of Presley Enterprises, so they were happy with the way it was done. After I'd watched the film initially twice in quick succession within the same week, once with my girlfriend Linda and once with my mum when it came out. My mum's also a massive Elvis fan. After that, I read a book by Jerry Schilling, who was one of the Memphis Mafia. He met Elvis at quite a young age and worked for Elvis on and off for many years. That was a really fascinating insight behind the scenes of exactly what was going on, and where things went very right for him, and where also, from quite an early age, in a way, things also started to go wrong, which probably led him to ultimately how his life went in the mid-70s. Back to the freebie. So we got these tickets for this screening, and the screening was at Westminster Abbey, which just sounded like a fantastic location to go and watch a film. So therefore, even though I was going to see a film for the third time, which is very rare for me, but it is about a subject I'm very fond of. So I met Linda after work. We managed to grab some food at Honest Burger, which is fully celiac friendly and offers gluten-free options for me, which was great. We got down to the Westminster Abbey area, found our way to the entrance. On the way in, I got a rather nice comment about my eyes from the girl checking tickets. And if I do say so myself, I do have very nice blue eyes. So I think she was right. Everyone down there was so friendly. The people on the door, as I said, were great. And we got in and the people inside directed us, asked us where we fancied sitting. It was one of those where you could have brought chairs along or rugs. We opted, basically because it was easier to carry, to go for a rug. So we could choose where we put our rug. We actually got right at the front, which was great. Set ourselves up, went and got some drinks, got there probably about an hour or so before the film started to settle in and try and get a good spot. Just before the film started, the Canon of Westminster came on the microphone to just tell us a little bit about the area we were. Basically, the part where it was being held was actually the Westminster Choir School, where the boarders normally stay. It's kind of inside the inner sanctum, in a way, of Westminster Abbey. He gave a nice little introduction, then we got into the film. Film itself, as good as I remembered, absolutely loved it. And watching it for the third time, I picked up different things from it that I hadn't actually noticed the first two times, which was great. And I think when I ultimately, and I will, go on to watch it a fourth and fifth time, I might get even more from it. As you can imagine, as the sun set, it got dark and you could see the Abbey lit up behind us as we were watching the film. It was quite magical in a way. Thoroughly good evening. Everybody there was lovely, had a great time. And walking back to the tube station to get home, we obviously walked right past the House of Commons. And I think possibly that must have been the latest I've ever walked right past it at that time of night. And again, that's another building that does look fabulous when it's lit up at night. So iconic. Whatever you think about what goes on inside there, you can't argue about the fact it does look good from the outside. Now, as you probably would have gathered from listening to these blogcasts, I'm a man who likes to keep myself busy and go out quite a lot. Occasionally, though, it is nice to spend a weekend, or at least one day of the weekend, in. Did that a couple of weekends ago. just went round to Linda's and we stayed in and had a relaxing afternoon. And then she cooked us a meal. She also invited her auntie and her cousin to join us and her mum for dinner. Now, I'm quite lucky because she is a very good cook. She makes amazing meals and is very good at the cakes as well. Because we'd been so busy, she hadn't had a chance to do much baking over the last couple of months. Well, I must say, she made up for that. She made, in no time at all, I think she probably put it together in about 10-15 minutes and it cooked in about half an hour or so, a gluten-free Victoria sandwich cake, which was amazing. It looked stunning for starters, and that was before I was even allowed to have any. Obviously, I was brought up correctly, so I did not have any of the cake until after our main meal. As well as looking amazing, the cake did taste fantastic. I had 2 pieces of that after my main. And then, because she was invited to dinner by Linda, her auntie felt she should bring something. So she actually made a gluten-free apple crumble. Now, I have always been a massive fan of crumble, one of my many weaknesses in life, so I had to have some of that as well. So after the main, I had 2 bits of cake, and then I had a second dessert course where I had some of the crumble. That was lovely too. Had it with a bit of cream. I mean, I always love a pudding after every meal, but to have 2 pudding courses, they are really the kind of dinners I like. During dinner, we got onto a conversation about music, and it turned out, quite surprisingly, I thought in the end, that Linda's mum was a fan of Chas and Dave. She'd seen them years ago, quite a few times, fairly early on in their career, in various pubs and clubs around the East End of London. So we just randomly put on some of their songs, and she was instantly singing, humming along, which was great. I also do like Chas and Dave. I have been to see them live a couple of times, once their own gig and once on a double bill they did with the Wurzels when I was working down in Yeovil. I also interviewed Chas from the band once. He was fantastic, such an interesting bloke to talk to as well. Do you know he started out actually as a guitar player? He was a rhythm guitarist and he went on tour with Jerry Lee Lewis when he came over to the UK as part of his band, playing guitar. Between gigs and after gigs, he got chatting to Jerry Lee, and basically Jerry Lee started teaching him how to play the piano, and that's kind of how he ended up playing the piano in Chas and Dave. As it turned out, Linda then found that there was a Chas and Dave tribute act playing near to where Linda lives. So she decided, as me and her mum both like their music, to book us a couple of tickets. So the outcome of that is, in November, I am now taking my girlfriend's mum out for the evening. Linda wasn't interested in coming. It's not really her kind of thing. It's just going to be me and her mum enjoying the music of Chas and Dave. And I'm really looking forward to it. Once everybody had gone home that same evening, we were trying to work out what to do. I am not really a massive fan of films. And also, this was the night after we'd been to the Elvis film. So even though it was a film I'd loved, in my head, I'd still watched the film last night. However, we were struggling to think of what to do. We couldn't find anything on the TV we really fancied until Linda stumbled across the fact that Zoolander was being shown on one of the many, many TV channels we have nowadays. Now, believe it or not, it's a film I was aware of, yet had never seen. I'd heard good things about it. I knew it was amusing. And also, when she told me it was less than an hour and a half, I thought, yeah, we'll give this a go. So we did watch Zoolander. I thought it was really good. I laughed a lot during it. There were so many fantastic cameos in it, and everyone is great. Even though I'd never seen the film, obviously I was aware of the blue steel, the pose that Zoolander pulls in the film. So a few years ago, I posted a picture of me trying to do my best blue steel, which for quite some time, it was my WhatsApp profile picture. Not anymore, I've moved on. Anyway, I had another go at it in Linda's kitchen, put it in the face, and I think I've absolutely nailed blue steel, got it down to an absolute T, although if you have seen the film, I've not quite mastered Magnum yet. I know I'm a bit behind the times. I think Zoolander, the original, came out in 2001. I know there's been a Zoolander 2. I'll probably get round to watching that one in about 20 years. I don't know if you find this. The world seems so busy nowadays. There's always lots going on. the weeks and the time just fly by. So I don't get to catch up with mates as often as I probably should. Also, most of my close mates have got children as well. So that means obviously weekends, they're very busy taxiing them around to various clubs and parties. I did manage the other week to catch up with my mate Adam and his family. It kind of worked out quite nicely. I suggested we meet in Marlow because I know it's about halfway between us and it's a place I really like. I like Marlow a lot. As it happened, his son that morning was playing in a cricket match in Marlow. So we just met the whole family there after they'd been to the cricket, which was great. The initial plan was to go and spend a nice afternoon by the river in Marlow, which is lovely, as does seem to be happening quite a lot at the moment this summer, in inverted commas. The weather wasn't good. It was raining, so we just decided to go and get some food instead. And as there was a lot of us, including the kids, we opted for Pizza Express. I have mentioned this many times before. I have something called celiac disease, which means I have to be on a very strict gluten-free diet. Any gluten can make me very ill. As it happens, Adam's wife Katie was also diagnosed as a celiac about 6 months ago now. So when we all went out to dinner, it was the first time that I'd been out with them since her diagnosis, which meant there was actually 2 of us with celiac disease at the table. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. It was nice to have someone to have a chat with about the menu, decide what we could have from the selection that we had. It was great, all worked out perfectly, had a great time chatting and having a laugh with them. So good to catch up. After the food, at the insistence of their daughter, we went to a branded coffee shop. She had her heart set on a particular drink that they have in there. So the whole reason we went there was because she wanted this particular drink. We got in there, ordered our drink, sat down. Their son ordered something different, something with more cream and more chocolate in. And she decided that she didn't actually really want that much the thing that she wanted so badly. She actually preferred the look of what her brother had. They're very good parents, so obviously she had to drink what she chose that time. But I have a feeling that I've ended up back in that particular establishment fairly soon after, so she could actually have what her brother had. It's always the way, isn't it? You can want something really badly, then you see what someone else has, and you want that more. What a lesson in life, eh? I am a massive fan of the theatre, do still go to lots of shows. The other Friday, Linda and I, quite last minute, got some tickets to go and see The Crown Jewels at the Garrick Theatre in London, which I think is a great little theatre anyway. It's a comedy farce. It's written by Simon Nye, who was one of the people behind Men Behaving Badly, a TV show I used to really enjoy. The cast was brilliant. Al Murray is in it, Neil Morrissey, Mel Gedroych, Joe Thomas from The In-Betweeners, to mention but a few. It also features Carrie H. Fletcher, who has been in the West End since she was literally a child, and I've seen her in quite a few things. She does have an amazing voice, and she gets to sing in this as well. It's just a silly farce, is the best way to describe it. It's a story about King Charles II, played by Al, and how his crown jewels were almost stolen, but not quite. It is very funny. The whole cast are brilliant. Al and Mel are hilarious. They both get a bit of time to have a play with the audience. And I've seen Al Murray live many times over the years in his guise as the pub landlord. And he is brilliant chatting to and bouncing off an audience. And he was, as ever, on top form. Some of the performers, Al included, get to play a few different characters as well. All I can say about it is it's just simply a funny show. There are some really great moments where the whole theatre will be laughing in unison together. It's always a good sign, I think, if you come out of a comedy play and your jaw aches from laughing, which is what I had. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not on for too much longer in London, but I think it is going on a national tour as well. So watch out for it. It's called The Crown Jewels. It's very funny. The cast are brilliant. Worth seeing if you get the chance. The Edinburgh Festival is underway. I have been up there a couple of times and I really enjoy it. I ideally wanted to get up there for a bit for this year's festival, but it's just not been possible. In fact, I've not been since before COVID, but at one point it was becoming a regular fixture in my diary. And it's lots of fun. It's not cheap. It's very hard finding accommodation up there during the festival period. I lucked out the first year I went. I happened to manage to book into a guest house about 15-20 minute walk outside the centre of Edinburgh. It was someone who had come from overseas and had recently bought it and started running it. And I don't think at that point they were aware about the festival, because I got this lovely guest house with breakfast included at a very, very good price. Needless to say, the year after, I think it clocked on and the price went up quite a bit and it booked out very early. So I had to pay in the end more than I'd like to basically stay in what was student accommodation. But really, I was just there to go and see as much comedy as I could. So as long as I had somewhere to sleep at night, I was pretty happy. When I was at the festival, my plan always was to see at least 4 gigs minimum a day, ideally more. And literally as soon as I got there on the Friday, within an hour, I'll be in a room somewhere watching a gig. I've seen some great people perform there. I saw Gary Delaney do his show. I have seen Hayley Ellis, who, amongst many other things, has supported Sarah Millican on tour. She was very funny. A guy I know from the Tringe Festival, who a year before me did the same course. You do an 8-week course with Logan Murray, the comedy guru, and then you end up doing 4 gigs in 4 pubs on the same night in Tring. He has managed to build on that and has been to Edinburgh at least 4 or 5 times now. In fact, he has previously won Joke of the Festival. He's Olaf Falafel. He's really good. Every time I'm in Edinburgh, I do always make sure I catch his show. It's very surreal, it's very silly, but it's very funny. A lovely bit of escapism, and he's a great bloke as well. There are lots of different shows, obviously, up there in Edinburgh. I did go and see Christopher Biggins do his show, which was basically a random chat show where he had guests on and just messed about and had a laugh with them. One of the favourite things I saw when I was up in Edinburgh was a late night Basil Brush show. Yeah, Basil went on after midnight and went a bit risque. I mean, it wasn't absolutely filthy. He didn't suddenly turn into Jerry Sadowitz, for example, but it was fun seeing Basil being a little bit cheekier and a little bit ruder than he would normally be. Another one of the great shows I've seen up there, and I know they're back this year, is The Showstoppers, which is a fully improvised musical. The cast are so talented and it's such good fun. It's very funny, and some of the songs they come up with at such short notice are amazing. That's well worth seeing if you get the chance. Also, for many years I've been a big fan of Matt Ford. I did catch his show when he was up there. Obviously it's heavily politically based, but he's very funny and his impressions of the politicians are absolutely spot on. Not sure if he's up there this year or not, but again, worth looking out for. I also went and saw the comedy magician Pete Furman one year. He was brilliant as well. The tricks were great, but he is very, very funny too. And I also saw, I think it was Sean Walsh's first Edinburgh after, let's call it the Strictly situation, where his life got a bit difficult owing to a few silly things that occurred while he was on that programme. That was a very honest show about the situation and what happened, but very funny. I like Sean. Anyway, what I basically think I'm saying is I'm very disappointed I'm not going to be at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival this year enjoying the comedy. So if you are going up there, have a great time, and do let me know if there are any new comedians I should look out for and go and see at some point during the rest of the year, please. I did do a little bit of stand-up comedy a few years ago after completing the course I mentioned with Logan Murray. It's one of those things I keep saying, should I go and do it again? Should I try and do some more? And every time the Edinburgh Fringe Festival comes around, it makes me think, oh, maybe I should give it another go. The usual reminder that you can hear my radio show Saturday afternoons between 2 and 4 on radio9springs.com. But that is it for now. Take care, look after yourselves and each other, please. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.